1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh, served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Goodbye, fellow gourmands, and welcome to the final episode of Season 2 of
Cure of the what now? Yum.
the one show where we know children are terrible artists. They just are. We don't need to keep lying to ourselves. It is what it is. My name is Kat. I am your host, and I am, in fact, a cat. You guessed correctly. I know it was hard because I'm pretty...
You look a little bit more like maybe like a bear, I would say.
Some kind of scrunkly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm your co-host, Joel, and also eliminate all adults, eliminate all adults.
Oh, geez, that's us, though.
Is it? I think I should count. I'm a kid at heart.
That's not really defensible in a court of law.
That's true. They wouldn't let me order the chicken tendies at the local restaurant.
We have to burn that place down. It'll go the way of the Applebee's. Welcome to the show. This is our final episode of Season 2, as mentioned, and we are covering 3 very important things. The final episode of Delicious Party, the movie, but most importantly...
That's right. Welcome to the 2023 Cure of the What Now? Yum Awards! Sponsored by Pete the Triceratops and his amazing dance! Look at him go!
Wow, look at it. I was going to ask if he was here and wanted to say a few words, but he's up there dancing.
Yeah, he's just crunking away. He's crunking all into the night.
And we are, of course, catered by Big Pete's Tendy Tots. Thanks, Big Pete's Tendy Tots, for all your tendies and tots.
Of course.
We're super excited to be doing the PreCure Awards now, and this year we even got an actual survey out, so that's really cool. Joel, do we want to do that as our discussion question, or do we want to save it for the end and get through the episode and the movie first?
Yeah, I think we should save the award ceremony for the very end of the episode.
Absolutely.
Now, Kat, before we get into the main episode, we do have a couple of announcements that I wanted to make. The first is that by the time this episode comes out, it should be next Monday. There will be an episode of Piecemeal coming out. That's a One Piece manga discussion podcast, and I was guesting on this episode. It was a lot of fun, and check it out. I voiced many different characters from the One Piece manga, and I had a lot of fun. Those folks are just full of crazy energy. If you like our energy, you'll like their energy.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing, too, is I believe we mentioned it, but just to double check, cross our T's, dot our I's, send in triplicate. For Season 3 of Cure of the What Now, we will be covering Sky Hero, or whatever it's called. What's it actually called? Hirogaru, Sky PreCure.
Or Soaring Skies PreCure in English.
Right. Which is available on Crunchyroll. That was confirmed by AU. It was confirmed by Crunchyroll, but AU let us know, so now we can let you know. And then we're also going to be covering Happiness Charge and Splash Star. For now, we will be covering one episode at a time, and we'll try to let you know if, we get so invested that we're going to watch multiple episodes, but I think we're going to try to tone it down and try to stay consistent with one episode at a time.
Absolutely. Why don't you hit me with a succinct summary, then?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we covered the very last episode, episode 45 of Delicious Party PreCure, in which... the PreCure, are going to continue to love food and celebrate with the entire town. They're basically doing this, big festival type thing. And then we find out that the energy fairies have to return to Ku Kingdom, which is quite sad, even though they have the ability to transfer between the two worlds whenever they want, thanks to Cinnamon Son. So I don't really... and Yui continues to be the ace icon that we deserve. And that's basically it. In lieu of a villain showing up and them having to team up with the lead cure for next season, instead, they transform in order to light some candles on a really big cake, which is interesting. And then the actual, the baton crossing paths, I think is where the word crossing came from. But that happens after the credits, and this girl shows up, and she has a pen, and she's super energetic, and she had a specific phrase. I think it was it's hero time?
It's hero time.
And that's where the episode ends with a very strong whoa, check it out, this character is here. The other thing that we watched was the movie, which thankfully has been released on Blu-ray in Japan. You and I got in our fast travel boats, and we got over there, and we checked out the DVD, and you and I speak fluent Japanese, of course.
Of course.
And
Thanks, Ao. She taught us.
Yeah, of course. No, if you want to check it out with English subtitles, you're going to have to sail the high seas like a pirate. If the Blu-ray ever does release officially from Toei or Funimation or whatever, support the official release. But we did watch that. And like many other PreCure movies, it turns out that the main Cure had a childhood encounter with someone that they immediately became friends with. And in this case, it was Yui met a kid who doesn't seem to smile, like doesn't seem to have any happiness in their life. And Yui tries to cheer them up by first making them some food and drawing this cute little kitty cat on a flag, and is basically like, you should go out and be a good person. They went, cool, I'm going to be a good person. Smash cut to present day. There's a theme park that is only letting children in and is very clearly trying to like Jimmy Neutron all of the adults, and like there's like some police robots that are there to beat up Mary when he tries to investigate, and it's all creepy, it's all weird, it's all bad. But eventually, they're able to realize that what was their name? Kate Sith? How do you pronounce it?
I believe it is Cat She.
Okay. I'm going to try to remember that, but I'm definitely probably going to call them Kate Sith at some point, because that's just how it's spelled. But Cat She was super smart. And there are a bunch of geniuses who are like, we want to use your inventions not to take over the world, but to help people. And they went, okay, here are my inventions. And they went, psych, we are going to take over the world. You suck. And then Cat She went, you know what? I'm going to turn you all into toys, because that's what this magical delicious stone has the ability to do, apparently. And then that's how they created Food Town, or whatever the amusement park is called.
It turns dreams real. And her dream... His dream is for no adults.
Yes. They don't really like specify like pronouns at all. Like all the ones I saw, I believe were referred to them as they. So I'm going to try to just stick to that. But yeah, so they want revenge. And the Delicious Party girls go, we don't want you to get revenge because it means hurting adults, and adults are actually kind of cool most of the time. And then there's a big punch up, and because the Delicious Stone has the ability to transfer dreams into reality, this also gives Mem Mem and Kome Kome and Pam Pam the ability to transform into human forms and more kind of pre-Cure-ish forms near the end of the movie. And then they use that power to give the other four girls a new special superpower up, and then they just blow up the bad guy.
And I guess, Ran Ran and Kokone were just real sleepy during the events of this movie because they were so surprised in the final episode when Pam Pam and Mem Mem,
Ran Mem and Mem Ram and Rembrandt. I think that's
Rembrandt is a painter.
Yes, absolutely. No, yeah, that is an interesting thing to point out. I think maybe those have been your Succinct Summaries. I think what it is that they were only able to transform into those forms in the movie because of the special Delicious Stone, which is now gone because Cat She is off, like, building orphanages or whatever. So I think it might have been more like, oh my gosh, you're able to take this form again. But also the movies aren't canon, so maybe it was just surprising, or maybe they just like hit their head at some point, Ran was delivering a pizza and someone in their car swung the door open all of a sudden and she just slammed her head into the door. That's why you should always wear bicycle helmets.
Mood. Okay. That's been your Succinct Summary. Joel, do you want to talk about the movie or the episode first?
I think the movie is the bigger event for me.
Okay. Did you like this movie?
The movie was quite good, yes. Yeah. The thing that it was interesting is they decided to focus on Kome Kome's desire to be an adult. She wants to be strong like Yui, and she thinks that in order to do that, she has to basically, like, stop being a child. And the movie's message is more or less that you should cherish your childhood like memories, I guess.
Yeah, that your dreams are part of what make you strong, and so you can have childish dreams and be strong.
Absolutely. So there's like a part where Kachi tries to feed them like kids meals or something, and Kame is like, I'm not going to eat this because Takumi said something about like we're not kids anymore. But then at the end of the episode, at the end of the movie, Kachi is like, hey, you taught me a valuable lesson. You are a hero. And Kame is like, oh my gosh, they think I'm a hero, so I am a hero. So it's okay for me to be childish. I think it's interesting giving the fairies or the fairy the focus of the movie. I do find the amusement park idea a little strange. I know for a fact that if an amusement park had shown up in my town growing up, and I had been like, oh cool, this place appeared out of nowhere, can I go to it? My mom would not have been like, okay, sure, have fun. I'll come get you at the end of the day and see if you have not been turned into a toy or whatever.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was a decent movie. I liked it.
I think this movie suffered from having all of the cures in it. You know, there really was no reason for Amane and Kokone and Ran to be there, except they're also on this team. I think if it had just been Yui, Komekome, Takumi, and Kachi, I think you could have had a stronger story that was more focused. But that said, I really liked it, and I like that Komekome came to a place of being comfortable with herself, because that was her arc at the time this came out. She felt weird because she had ears in the tail, and the
Absolutely.
other kids didn't.
They kind of tackled the same question in different ways, so it doesn't feel like the movie is just a repeat of what she learned. It feels like they can kind of complement each other. I did really like that. It is interesting because, like, I can't remember every PreCure movie, but if we think back to the last one that we covered, which was the Doki Doki solo movie, the other girls who got trapped in different memories were all trying to basically reach out to...
Mana?
Gosh, Mana. I somehow forgot her name between last week and this week.
Who's Mana? She's dead. Megami is my pink cure now.
But no, so even though the focus was still mostly on Mana's childhood and her interaction with her grandma and Mallow, the other girls had kind of like something to contribute, whereas in this one it was mostly that Kokone wanted to go to the bread island of the food-themed amusement park, and Ran wanted to go to the noodle-themed part of the amusement park. I will allow Amane, because this is the most character we get from her, like the most expression we get from her throughout the entire series. It turns out she does not like roller coasters, so there's a scene of her kind of like being real scared and being really like, oh gosh, I don't ever want to be on that. And then there's like some kind of dessert-themed obstacle course. Man, PreCure movies are weird. And she's like really good at it. So I liked Amane's kind of side points, but it definitely felt like filler. It felt like they had serious topics that they wanted to cover, and then also fun times of the girls just kind of enjoying themselves in a low-pressure environment. And I guess you need both, but it feels like they're both fighting for space.
Absolutely. Yep. Nope, that's exactly what I was trying to get at. Something really funny that happened while we were watching this movie is, Kachi showed up and they say, oh, it's Kachi, the famous inventor. And you and I at the same time went, oh, Kachi. And I'm like, that's a creature from Gaelic mythology. And you go, that's a creature from Final Fantasy. I just love our divergent responses.
Understandings of the thing or whatever. Absolutely.
It would be like if we saw characters named Dante and Virgil, and I was like, that's Dante's Inferno, and you were like, that's Devil May Cry. Although, honestly, it's more likely to be the reverse, because you actually read Dante's Inferno.
I did a book report on, like, the summary of it. I didn't read it, and I own a copy, and I've been meaning to read it, but I haven't read it myself yet. But, no, yes, absolutely. Now, have you looked into the Kachi, like what they are in Gaelic mythology, or was it just kind of like a halfway remembered thing of like, oh?
No, after I mentioned it, I looked them up, just to remind myself.
So what's their deal?
They're cats and they suck.
I mean, some people would already say that all cats suck. Do they have a specific, like, if you give them gold, they'll turn you into a cow or something? Or?
They are black cats with a white flash on their chests, and they can steal souls. So when you die, they might show up and take your soul instead of letting you go to heaven.
Interesting. Okay. Kind of like Charon, the boatsman of the underworld, except like instead of taking you where it wants to go, they just take you somewhere else because they're cats and they're capricious.
Right? Yeah. Imagine Rocket getting a hold of your soul and just walking off with it. Oh my gosh. Nemesis, Black Cat, White Flash, she's a Kashi.
Oh my gosh.
We're in danger.
I'm also imagining, I guess this would require some kind of mythology where like your soul gets put inside of a bottle, but like a Kachi just like slowly sliding it off of the table.
Oh no!
Kachi, no! Kachi! And then it just falls and smashes.
I'm going to diverge very slightly here because I think it will be funny. So something I learned a long time ago about the difference between cats and dogs is when you die, your dog will wait a couple of days to eat you until it's really hungry, but your cats will start eating you almost immediately. And when I found this out...
Thanks, Garfield.
When I found this out, I was like, oh, that's fascinating. And I was talking to my dad about it the other day, and I go, you know, that's actually kind of comforting. Because if I were to die at home and nobody came to check on me, my cats would be fed for a couple of days, and that makes me feel good. And my dad was like, I guess that's a nice way to look at it.
That's one way to... That isn't a unique observation. I definitely think so.
I wouldn't eat you if you died, because that would be taboo for people.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a movie that thoughtfully explores whether or not cannibalism is the correct answer in any circumstances. For example, what if someone's final wish was "please eat me"? Like at that point, does it cross the taboo? Is it okay? Maybe you don't think that you'll get caught. Maybe you're curious, you know?
Yeah, you know, just take a little bite of that rump roast. Who's gonna stop you? Take a little bite of that rump roast is actually my college dating advice also.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely. But not high school advice because rump roast is an advanced cooking technique, so you should wait till you have some more life experience, you know? Maybe you could do like the instant ramen of cannibalism when you're in high school.
Oh my god, we're still talking about cannibalism. I was just making like a saucy like, no, getting after that booty. I was going to say, the reason it's a college dating tip and not a high school dating tip was I was lame in high school. I just didn't date boys. I wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
I say that I didn't date boys. I didn't date anyone. But I was only interested in dating boys, so I specifically didn't date them on purpose. I didn't date girls just by happenstance.
I just happened to be interested in a certain type of a relationship. Now, one thing that I noticed, and eventually if you watch enough media, I think you start to be able to make connections between a lot of different things, but you and I famously enjoy the anime and the manga One Piece.
One Piece!
And there's an arc in One Piece called Dressrosa. It's one of the more recent story beats that have happened, but in it, there's a character who can turn people into toys. And there's I can't remember exactly when it happens, but there's a pit of some variety. So there's a bunch of people in a building and the floor opens up beneath them and they fall and they land in like kind of like a garbage dump that's just full of all of these discarded toys. And so when we're watching this movie, there's a part where the parents start to get worried about whether or not their children are okay, and they all show up, and these weird like cop robots show up, and they're like, you must be eliminated, and turns them all into toys. And I went, it's just like Dressrosa. And then a tube opens up and they fall through and they go to a place where a bunch of toys have been discarded. And I went, oh my gosh. And then one of the weird things in the Dressrosa arc in One Piece is that anyone who gets turned into a toy, the non-toy people forget that they existed. For example, if Catherine got turned into a toy, I would forget that there was a woman named Catherine in my life, or a person on my podcast named Catherine. Makes me wonder how, like, pictures work, or, you know? But then the Delicious Party movie goes, hey, by the way, when they get turned into toys, they lose all of their memories. What is this connection? I assume they're both drawing from some folklore or something, but it is fascinating that, like, so many of the elements lined up in that
way. Absolutely. No, there was a lot to this movie that was really fun. I guess a lot, well, I know a lot of kids' lunches in Japan come with little flags on them just to make them more fun.
Yeah.
And so when Yui was preparing this kids' lunch for Did Catchy have a name other than Catchy?
I think Catchy's their real name, but I got the impression that Catchy was the fake persona they adopted when they grew up to hide the shady stuff that they're inevitably going to get up to, but we never got a different name for them, so...
So we'll just say Catchy, but she makes Catchy this kid's lunch, and then she draws a little cat on a flag to put on the top of it, but it is a terrible drawing. Yui Girl takes some art classes, so when Catchy decides to make themselves a little cat costume, they model it based off the scrunkly thing that Yui drew.
The thing that Yui drew honestly does not... It looks like a cat, but like in that kind of scribbly way that really young children, when they try to draw, often draw. But the mascot itself, to me, looked very bearish. It kind of looked like maybe...
the nose, I think. Like something about the nose. Because I've seen cats with the woolly ears like that. But I haven't seen cats with quite so flat faces. Did you know that bears and wolves have a common ancestor?
I mean, every creature on Earth has a common ancestor, is the belief. But they're pretty closely related.
Yeah, be impressed by my fun fact.
That's really impressive. That's a really impressive fun fact. And actually, I had a joke about how the mascot creature looks like maybe like Lance's like disgruntled uncle who like crashes on the couch or whatever every Thanksgiving, overseas his welcome a little bit too long.
His name is Luntz.
True. Anything else about this movie?
Yu's mom was nowhere in it.
Wasn't she at the very beginning?
Nope. Yui made breakfast, lunch for that other kid all by herself.
That's true. Yone was there and was like, oh, that was very nice of you. Maybe but they live at the diner, don't they? So that's kind of interesting. Didn't have the budget to hire the voice actor, I suppose. That is it for the main movie, I think. But the other thing that I will point out is that there was a special, and it happened... It was an interesting framing device. So, you turn on the Blu-ray or whatever, and it's Cure Precious, and she goes, hey, welcome to the diner. We're going to make you some great food. Here's some advice on the rings that we gave you. They're no longer doing miracle lights. They're now doing, like, I think it was called a memory ring or something like that. But she's like, here's some rules, be kind. Don't shout in the middle of the theater. Don't push or shove. Watch this movie, and then afterwards we're going to have a very special dinner, or kids' lunch for you. And I believe that you said at certain theaters they actually did that over in Japan where they had...
I don't know if they did it at theaters, but yes, you could go get special lunches. Ayu was talking about how she was tempted to stand in line for one.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So in real life, there was actual food that you could get related to the event. But then at the end of the movie, after the credits show, you go back to that framing device, and she goes, oh, wasn't that a lovely movie? I'm glad you liked it. What would you like? And the camera pretends like it's you, so it kind of does like this little nodding thing and kind of interacting with her. And they ask for like food that's never been had before. So she goes back into the kitchen. Ran and Kokone and Amane are there. And she goes, we need to make something that they've never had before. And they create a new lunch. And then quote unquote, the camera asks to make it more tropical. So who shows up? But Pure Summer.
Somebody's like, I thought I saw a girl who was tropical a while ago.
When we were at the theme park earlier today, and is it Amane who keeps being really suspicious, or is it Kokone? One of them is basically like, there's no way. We just happened to run into a person who happens to fit this description. But then Minatsu shows up and she goes, I heard the word tropical earlier? And she does this whole thing about like, oh, that's so tropical shiny, or whatever the phrase is. And Yui's like, oh, what does that mean? She goes, it's full of tropical energy. And the other girls are there, and I think it's Songo was like, you ran off without us. You're so mean.
It was Laura.
That was Laura, okay. And then the camera character again asks to make it more nutritious or more healing aura, and then
give it some healing energy.
Yeah, and then to make it a dish that's like out of this world, and so you also get Cure Grace and Cure Twinkle, and then
Cure Star.
Yeah, which one's Twinkle? One of the other.
Princess.
That's one of the yellow ones. Yeah. Anyways, and then
who are you?
They all show up. It's the past like 3 seasons, and I liked that.
Yeah, it was cute. I did not like their 3D models.
No,
Return to sender.
Well, oh yes, I don't really like it when anime tries to do it. There's very few movies that have done it well, and most of the time, even if I'm like, okay, that looks okay, it still doesn't look as good as if it were just the regular 2D.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
way back in the day when they did a Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossover, and it was the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, and Timmy Turner was like, oh, why is everyone so bulgy?
Yeah,
that's the phrase.
There were 3 of those specials, and I loved every single one of them. But yes, that's exactly the vibe that you get from it.
Is that where your love of crossovers was born, do you think? Or did you love them before that?
I think I loved them before that. Fun fact, the only reason I watched Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, gosh, longest Nicktoons show title ever, was because one of the very early episodes, he daydreams, and there's a crossover with Cosmo and Wanda from Fairly Odd Parents, and I thought that show was going to have more crossovers, so I watched 4 seasons, and eventually I'm like, they're never going to do another crossover like this, are they? Are they?
Why did I watch so much of this show?
And then when they did the Family Guy Simpsons crossover, at one point, I can't remember who it is. I think it's Brian says something about oh yeah, I saw someone at the store today. His name was Homer or something. And Peter goes, oh wow, studios never do crossovers. They only ever do crossovers because they're really excited by it, not because they're desperate to get more viewers. I was like, the Ned's Declassified crossover, that's exactly what happened.
You know what's the best thing about that crossover?
What's that?
There's a scene where Homer and Peter are talking, and you see the Bob's Burger family in a plane in the background, and then they start to crash, and someone was like, they just can't fly on their own.
That's amazing.
Going back to PreCure, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the movie or the short?
No, I mean, I've said this time and time again. I would love if PreCure had more smaller crossovers. I know that we have the movies, and I know that we've had a couple of other places. Hugto has a huge crossover because it was a big celebration. Cure Black talks to us at the beginning of the first episode of
Happiness
Charge. Thank you. But I would love an 8-episode miniseries that is just Laura transfers to the princess school from Go Princess, and she hangs out with those 3 or 4, I guess. And so I want more interactions that aren't just some evil monster is turning the world into microphones or something. I would love more casual day-to-day hangouts with all the characters, but also I understand that they only have the budget, or they only choose to spend the budget on a single season each season.
Absolutely. Joel?
Yes.
I'm sad.
I'm sorry? Why is that?
Because I'm going to miss the Delicious Party Girls.
Yeah.
As far as finales go, this finale did not leave me the most emotionally distraught. That honor might still go to Star Twinkle.
Star Twinkle stabbed you with a knife. Star Twinkle and Cure, and again, it is interesting that we have so much to say about the first 2 seasons that we watched, and there's the idea that the first game that you play or the first movie in a series that you watch is going to be your favorite. But I really do think that those 2 did their final episode or their closing arc in a way that was kind of yeah, it's sad when people move away. Whereas Delicious Party, there was a bit of sadness about, the energy fairies are going back to the Ku Kingdom. But for the most part, it was just kind of life as usual. It's almost as if the entire season didn't happen in terms of how Yui and Kokone and Amane are interacting with people around them.
Absolutely. That was pretty much how I felt. We've succinctly summarized the episode, and we don't have to go too deeply into the episode because there really wasn't much substance to it. I did have a quick brain blast about Narcissiru. He liked the candy apple. We see him take just the strawberry off a cake, and then later he's eating something else red. I think he only likes red foods because he's a vampire. I think he's like Marceline. I think that's why he was so picky.
Only eat red things?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't watch enough Adventure Time to get to, her second episode.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's why she loves Princess Bubblegum. She's not red, so she's not going to eat her, but she's close enough to red that she's I like this.
Amazing. Yeah, the other thing that I'll say is that all 3 of them, Fennel, Narsatoru and Secretoru, are in prison. Narsatoru doesn't seem like he's trying very hard to reform, but, he's a tsundere. I think maybe Secretoru even comments on oh, you're so disagreeable or something. But it seems like maybe he's slowly becoming a good guy. They use soft pinks as their prisoner colors instead of the bright orange jumpsuits that you might see in Orange is the New Black or real life prison systems. Secret Toru seems to have embraced that, like, she has to serve her sentence, but she's really dedicated to, when I get out, I'm going to be Kokone's mom's assistant, and I'm going to be a genius taste tester or whatever, so she's really, like, grabbing that future.
Is she allowed to have video calls with Kokone's mom, do you think? Do they have rights in Ku Kingdom Prison?
You know, funny you should say that. AU had some thoughts from the crew that I wanted to talk about, and we'll come back to that. Put a pin in it, like that little thing that you put in sandwiches that hold them together. But
all right.
But the other thing that I wanted to point out is that Fennel is also in prison, and he seems to be giving Mary a like the silent treatment. Doesn't seem to like really be responding. But Mary's like, hey, he basically is like, I'm gonna keep my eye on you, but the vibe, the subtext that I got is basically, I'm here if you need to talk, and I hope that you'll change your ways. But we don't get the ending that you see in, say, like, again, Star Princess, right? The final bad guy doesn't say, okay, I'm going to continue to be evil, I'll come back in 1,000 years. She basically says, like, okay, I will stop, and I will let you girls lead me to a bright future, and I'm basically a good guy now. Fennel did not in any way do anything related to, like, okay, I'm good now, but who knows? Maybe he'll live forever, and then in the next 500 years, he'll slowly reform.
There was a very cute scene where, like, his inner child was crying, and Yui reached out her hand to him.
That's true. And the giant cat did, like, the head pat with this, like, meow! Like, I like that. Takumi is hanging out. He seems to be more confident in spending time with Yui, but it doesn't appear that he's, like, in love with her or, like, stumbling over his words to confess or anything. It's just kind of, you know, they're good friends or whatever. He seems to be willing to move at her pace, and at one point she invites him to travel the world with her, and he's like, are you serious? Is this my chance? And she goes, of course, all the other girls are going to come too. And he gets a little like, oh, I thought you were going to. So again, yeah, Yui is really, really, really ace to me. Like, that's the vibe she gives off.
She is dedicated to this no dating thing.
Absolutely.
Everyone I love the same kind of love.
Absolutely. A platonic polycule, as it were.
Yeah, that's just a friend group. That's just a group
that is a friend group, but, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's, like, slightly more than just a group of friends, you know? But it is also not romantic.
Absolutely. So I'd like to just kind of look back on the season as a whole and talk about, you know, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. I feel like it was a pretty solid season. You know, I don't know if I would watch it again. But one of the nice things about episodic shows is that if you wait 10 years and you decide, I really need an episode of Delicious Party PreCure, you don't have to start from the very beginning to be like, oh gosh, what is happening? What's going on with the plot? You can watch any episode and you can, you know, feel comfortable with the patterns and the characters and what it is that's happening. So I liked that. I liked that the characters all kind of had their own thing, which sometimes gets brushed under the rug with larger casts. Like, not everyone gets to maintain their own character development. But also, that wasn't really a part of their interactions as a team, you know? Ran being her wacky, goofy self didn't come into play except when the episode was about her, and Kokone being lonely didn't really come into play except when the episode was about her.
It's like you said about Ivanhoe's thoughts on Kira. Was it Kira?
It was Kira.
But just to recap, in case it's been too long, or maybe you haven't heard the episodes where we've talked about it before, Ivanhoe, that's just what he is on Twitter, right? Or is
At the Ivanhoe.
The Ivanhoe, okay. But he made the point that unless an episode is about a character, they sometimes don't really have development, like, in the background or whatever. And I would say that that is true in a lot of different shows. And I personally call that the Rarity problem, because in my opinion, from My Little Pony, Rarity was very generous in episodes that were about her, showcasing how generous she is. But as a background character in other episodes, she's usually less generous and more selfish because it's funnier that way. But, you know, I think the same thing happened here, right? We didn't really get Kokone having any social awkwardness after that first episode when she made, like, the 3 friends at the picnic and she was like, oh, we can all sing and dance, and, like, that's basically it. Like, she never really interacts with the classmates ever again. I don't know how I feel about the episodic structure. When we were watching Tropical Rouge in season 1 of Cure of the What Now?
Yum.
No, it wasn't Yum at that point because it was season 1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we only do Yum. This is the last Yum that I'll ever Yum.
Oh, everything will be yuck from here on out.
But when we were watching Tropical Rouge, I complained about some of the episodes feeling like nothing was happening, and I really wanted more of an overarching plot. Delicious Party got into a more overarching plot near the end. It's not so important that you have to watch every episode to get what's going on, but at the same time, on paper, it should be exactly what I wanted, but I still feel as though I would rather rewatch episodes of Tropical Rouge. So I don't know if it's maybe the characters are more low-key compared to Manatsu's energy or whatever, or Laura's, tax crimes. But it feels like this should be closer to my perfect PreCure, but I still don't think that it is my perfect PreCure. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't miss the Tropical Rouge girls the way I feel like I'm going to miss the Delicious Party girls.
Okay.
And I think that's just because this whole cast is very, comfy.
Okay,
And they've all got something about them that's a pretty good opportunity for humor. But in terms of individual episodes, I just feel like I enjoyed the episodic episodes of Tropical Rouge a little bit better.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I would absolutely agree with that. As we've pointed out before, this season does cover grief and loss in a way that I would say is more central than some of the deeper themes from Tropical Rouge. Yes, Tropical Rouge had the relationship between the previous PreCure and the witch, but it was very backloaded, whereas Yone being gone was in episode 1. We didn't see Yui's pain about it, but we got little hints and pieces of it. And so I think that it did that really well. Ran is closer to my spirit animal than any of the Tropical Rouge girls, I would say, for example. But I didn't particularly super love the generals. I think Kira handled that better. I think Go Princess handled the generals better. I liked the generals from say Sweet and Tropical Rouge better. So overall I'd say it's a good season, and I think that people who want to watch it should, and it's one of the legally available, at least in the United States, series. But I'd put it kind of in the middle. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it either.
Absolutely. And I mean, I do think that it suffered a lot from missing 5 episodes in the middle.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
We probably lost out on a lot of character growth there. And then the other thing that I've seen people talk about is that some of the best one-shot, one-off episodes in Tropical Rouge were written by the person who did this whole season.
Yes.
And so she's more of an episodic writer.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's fine. I think that's great. But it takes a different sort of talent to do episodic while having an overarching plot. And I still think the Kira structure of having 7 episode arcs was probably my favorite way of doing that, because within those 7 episodes you could have, your goofy, wacky, one-off hijinks episodes, but each set kind of led into the next set and it all culminated in something that made sense.
Absolutely.
But this is not a Kira episode. Really quick, I just want to ask, of the seasons we watched this season, which was your favorite?
So we had Max Heart, we had Sweet, we had Doki Doki, and then we had... It's definitely between Doki Doki and Sweet. I really Hibiki and Kanade gave me such strong vibes at the beginning, and I liked Mephisto as this kind of dorky but also kind of malicious evil force. And what did they call the bird when they first met him? Do you remember?
No.
Okay, I don't either, but he was really cute for the 3 episodes he was around. Yeah. But, okay, that one compared to Doki Doki. I think Doki Doki wins, and that's a heart over art pick. I'm sure if I sat down and I did some science or some calculations, I could figure out what it is about Doki Doki that appeals to me. But it just had such a strong ensemble cast. And so I think Doki Doki takes it for me.
Agreed. I love Doki Doki. That was easily my favorite season we watched. And a lot of the haters out there are this season is bad because Mana doesn't grow as a character. But it's not about Mana growing as a character. It's about Mana's effect on the world around her.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see, especially in that final episode, how every person she touched was then able to spread the love further. And that was kind of the point of the series, was that when you give love out into the world, you increase the amount of love there is exponentially. And I think that's a really cute message, and I liked it a lot. I thought that it was very well handled.
Absolutely.
Also, what other season has Sebastian in it?
Sebastian is so good. Just so I think you need, for me, in order for a season to be really good, I think I need to like every character at least a little bit. Just being like completely brutally honest, like for the most part, Amane didn't do anything for me. She had an interesting character arc about like she was a bad guy and then she became a good guy. We've kind of seen it before, but like overall, after she had that little arc, she could have been written off the show and I wouldn't have cared too much. But whereas like with Go Princess or Maho or Doki Doki, even the characters who I would say I don't much care for Aguri, like the mom from Arrested Development.
Lucille.
Yeah, Lucille, thank you. But even if I said, I don't much care for this character, I still like them and they still have moments that I think are cute.
I love all the PreCure equally. I don't much care for Healing Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to do, thoughts from the crew now and then move into the award ceremony? I kind of feel like the award ceremony is its own separate section.
It is its own separate section, so let's get going with thoughts from the crew.
So I don't know. We try to keep our political leanings out of this podcast. Catherine, as the director, has a lot of control over that. I think I would be a little bit more open about my own thoughts, but that's not the point of these shows. PreCure isn't super political, but it's so weird that the movie happened to come out right now so we could discuss this. The movie had some, nice looking robots, and then it had, bigger, more beady uppy robots that were, the enforcers, and they looked like freaking cops. And then one of AU's comments on episode 45 was, Ku Kingdom has prison labor, because we see Narsa Toru and Secret Toru, out in the fields and picking strawberries or whatever, and it's just that's kind of messed up. That's a little strange for a kid's show. And so I think the impression that I'm getting is that maybe PreCure isn't willing to say that all cops are beautiful, Yeah,
I like the direction you took that acronym. Man, it's just fascinating to think about, this idealized world that we're presenting to children still has jail in it.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not objecting, you gotta run a kingdom. It would be difficult to suspend my disbelief if there weren't some sort of retribution.
Well, and imagine if, in a hypothetical world, let's say that the people who are writing the next season, Soren Sky, PreCure, what?
Sword and Sky.
Soren Sky.
I just
Sora
like
and Sky.
Sword and Sky as a Pokemon game.
Absolutely. But let's say that they have definitive opinions about prisons and they think that no one should ever be imprisoned even if they have committed a crime, right? In order to incorporate that into their season of PreCure, they kind of would have to explain it. You can say, okay, in the human world, we make sandwiches by chopping up some meat, chopping up some cheese, getting some lettuce, putting it between two slices of bread. You understand the concept of a sandwich. But in the Ku Kingdom, you don't have to chop the meat, cheese, and lettuce and get the bread. They just grow as a sandwich on the tree, right? And so if you just had a PreCure season where there are no prisons, you'd have to stop and explain the political, how that happened and the philosophy behind it. I think that's just too heavy for a PreCure season.
Absolutely. Yes.
The other thought that AU had was that during the food festival in episode 45, I think it's Yui's mom. Someone asked Yui's mom, or one of the parents, hey, why did you make this particular food? And they said, oh yeah, we have people from all over the world visiting. And some of those people have different cultures and values. So this is a safe option. So basically, if people don't believe in eating meat, they won't get offended. But it didn't say it in so many words or in a slightly different way. And AU's thought was it kind of feels tacked on at the very end. We don't really get anything else about different values for the last 44 episodes, unless you count evil guy who wants to take power and good girl who wants to give hearts or whatever. But it's a little bit too little too late. It's kind of like how Healin' Good had themes of the Earth getting sick, but then in their last episode, they're like, oh yeah, and also pollution is bad. It is, but you could also center an entire show around that. That's what Captain Planet is for. Reboot Captain Planet in the PreCure universe.
But what kind of power is Heart anyway?
The most powerful one. I Cure Heart am invincible.
She's Cure Lovely, you fake-ass fan.
But those were the only thoughts that we got from the crew. Please join us, next season for some other good stuff.
They're not really the only thoughts we got from the crew, because talking about our past episodes also counts as thoughts. That one welder guy, James, liked our death sound effect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Vine boom sound effect. It's important to me that you know that this is a meme that exists all throughout YouTube.
Oh.
You sound like a boomer when you're like, this the sound effect, the thing that you put in. It's the Vine boom. It's the boom.
It's like the Grand Theft Auto Wasted, but for teens.
Yes, absolutely. The You Died music that plays in Dark Souls as the screen goes to black. But that about wraps it up. Now we can begin the 2023 PreCure Awards.
And we see Cure Precious walking down the red carpet. Cure Precious, what are you wearing? She says a rice ball.
Oh, man. Takumi, did you have to work very hard? How did you land this role playing Black Pepper in the movie? Well, you see, I worked very hard. Blah, 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 blah. That's very interesting. Wow, Kokone, what a beautiful dress. No further questions. We're just going to compliment your beauty, and we're not going to ask you anything about the hard work that you put into the role or, that kind of a thing. You're just here to look pretty, Kokone.
Oh, boy. Joel, are you making social commentary again?
No, ma'am.
Who else but Joel?
Now, unfortunately, we did kind of put this together a little late. I was hoping that maybe we'd have an episode out where we could share the link in the podcast description, and maybe we could set up or explain some of the rules and such, but Catherine, you were lovely enough to get this basically 95% of the way there, and I did a little bit of tweaking. I did change some of the wording to some of the questions. And now we are ready to discuss the results. We got a couple of results, and I believe that both that one welder guy and AU, Magical Girl AU, contributed. Possibly even Ivanhoe. I believe that I saw some activity on Twitter from him retweeting and such. But I do not have who voted for what, so that's perfectly fine, that's acceptable. I will say that some of these questions had some joke answers in them, and I'm somewhat glad that we didn't just get all joke answers all the time, but I was hoping that maybe someone would go with the joke answers one or two times, so we will discuss those as appropriate.
Absolutely. Joel, do you want to present the award for most valuable PreCure?
Yes, the MVP, the most important question and the first one that we asked, and literally every character from every season was on there, although the third option says, haha, shiny luminous doesn't count, my survey, my rules, and number 4 is Black Pepper, in all caps. If someone had voted for that shiny luminous doesn't count, I think that would still count towards
shiny luminous. Absolutely.
But unfortunately, the answers are quite divided. We got Cure Clover, we've got Cure Sword, we've got Cure Heart, and we've got Black Pepper.
Now, in the event of a tie, I feel it's only fair we as hosts choose from the 4 chosen by our lovely audience.
Now, I have a secret that I've been hiding, and it's that I am not actually left-handed as we continue to do these sword fighting. But you yourself have already contributed an answer, and I wonder who it could be who might have responded with Black Pepper in all caps.
I did certainly vote, but I won't let that sway these results. So we have Black Pepper as most valuable PreCure. We have Cure
Clover, Clear Sword, and Cure Heart.
Okay. So when we're talking about most valuable PreCure, are we saying, she who best upheld the ideals of PreCure? Are we saying contributed most to defeating the villain? How would you like to define this?
I guess what I would think with this question is just who kicks the most butt and takes the most names, who kind of encourages other people to be their best self, and that sort of a thing. And so I guess essentially, this is probably almost always going to come down to the pink cure, the lead cure, because they almost always embody whatever the spirit of that season is. However, with someone who had put Cure Clover, I'm beginning to wonder if they thought who is literally the most valuable pre-cure. Because I'm sure that she has billions of dollars, so I think that she would technically win in that competition. But I think for myself, if I had to look at all of these different characters, I would probably have also voted for Cure Heart, just because I do think that she's this cinnamon bun that encourages everyone around her.
Absolutely. As much as I can see an argument for Cure Sword, because she did keep fighting, right? She did bring her country back. I just feel as though Mana's effect on the population of their city cannot be understated. Cannot be overstated.
They haven't, we didn't really get any kind of confirmation about this, but I kind of get the impression that because Cure Sword Makoto was around for a while, I don't know how long after the destruction of the Spade Kingdom before she showed up on Earth or whatever, but assume it's been 6 months, right? Because she had enough time to become an idol and start traveling around. I get the impression that she was a good fighter, and she cared deeply about her country, but she wasn't able to save it. I think that Cure Heart was the one who did that.
Absolutely.
However, based off the fact that you and I are kind of questioning what the question means and how we decide who the winner is, I think that next year if we do this, let's try to do it a little bit earlier, and that's on both of us, but then we can also be a little bit better in defining our terms. I think when I was originally writing down my outline of the questions, what I meant by MVP was kind of maybe who is your favorite of all of these characters altogether, but that's hard because your favorite character might be the one that has the best hair, my favorite might be the funniest character, and then our listeners might choose, their favorite based off of who had the most compelling arc. Because, like you pointed out earlier in this episode, Mana doesn't have an arc, and that's okay. But if it were most compelling story, I would definitely put more weight on Sword and Black Pepper. So
Absolutely.
Maybe we could divide this into separate categories, and we could say who's the funniest, or who did you have the best time with, who do you think showed the greatest growth, that kind of a thing.
I love that. Moving on to our next question, with an overwhelming 2/3 of the vote, the favorite season that we covered in Cure of the What Now Season 2 was Sweet PreCure.
Sweet, sweet, pretty cute. Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this earlier. I definitely was torn between those two if I had answered in the survey. Out of curiosity, you said you also liked Doki Doki quite a bit. Okay.
I did, yeah. Sweet was good, but I feel like I've mentioned before that one of the things I look for in these seasons is a pink cure who makes me feel like I can do it. And I didn't get that as much from Hibiki, but I did from Mana.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, they are both lovely seasons. We have another question later on where we ask, how did you like this season? And it was amazing, good, and I'd watch it again. Good, I don't need to watch it again. I didn't like it. I hated it, basically. And so I would say that Doki Doki and Sweet both deserve the love it, would watch it again instantly. And then Delicious, for me, was a little bit more I don't know, it was good, I don't need to watch it again, kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
For the next one, we had who had the best outfit, and I find it so interesting when we have so many options and we don't have enough voters for there to be agreement on any one point. So this one was a 4-way tie.
And our candidates are?
Well, technically, the only ones we wrote down were, we did Cure Precious, Cure Spicy, Cure Yum Yum, Cure Finale, and wow, why just the Delicious Party Girls? You guys are lame. And we actually got some write-in answers, because Other was available for some of these, and so we got 1 vote for Cure Rhythm. Maybe it's the bow, I do really like. Is Rhythm Hibiki, or is it Kanade?
Kanade is Rhythm.
Okay, yes, I love her bow. I think that she is very, very pretty. Cure Finale is on here. Ran, when she cosplayed as Kome Kome. Kome Kome. I was thinking of Kokone. Their names are too similar, so I was I don't remember the panda girl dressing up as the stylish girl. And then we also had Kokone or Cure Spicy.
I gotta say, Ran when she cosplayed as Kome Kome. I forgot that she did that.
That's true. That was a very good episode. Now, how did you interpret this question?
Most enjoyable outfit for me to look at?
Okay, but Did you imagine them in their PreCure form or in their street clothes?
Either.
Okay. I think that if we do this again next year, I'm taking notes for editor Joel to write down, I think I should say who had the best PreCure outfit, because that to me is much more interesting of a question than, because there's like always usually one stylish character. You look at Kokone and you go, yep, that's a stylish woman. She knows how to dress.
I will say, I saw early in this Delicious Party season, the Ivan Hope commented on how the PreCure outfits were a little too busy for him.
Yes.
And I kind of feel that. Like, they're all fine, they're all good, but none of them make me go, whereas, like, Cure Rhythm, you're right, she's just pretty. Like, she's got a nice dress, and the design is simple, but it's clear, like, it states what it's trying to get across, so I think she probably should take this one.
I hope that this is painfully obvious. I forgot that we have to actually, like, pick a winner. I was already scrolling down to the next question, but I would agree with that. It is interesting, and I think I've made this perfectly clear. I know nothing about fashion. I don't even know which shirts I prefer on myself. That's how inclined I am to pay attention to clothing. But I do think that one of the challenges we're going to see is that you want each of your PreCure to look unique, and there's like 78 of the flippers. And so, like, yes, you're eventually going to get someone whose outfit is really busy because they're going to be like, we want a pink girl who's energetic and has bunny ears. Oh crap, we already did that. So they have to like give her something to make her silhouette different from the previous bunny girl.
Instead of making her cake, what if we made her a cloud? Toei, you're not allowed to steal my OC. But I do have a bunny girl PreCure who is based on the phases of the moon.
Ooh, very exciting.
The top half of her dress has little buttons, and each button is a different phase. So there's like a full moon, a half moon, and a new moon.
Amazing. And she's also she's named after the different Twilight books as well. When did she become a werewolf? I'm sorry, we're moving on to the next question.
With a strong 50% of the vote, the winner of Favorite General is Narcisteru, my boy!
Narcisteru won. We also had the minor trio is a group do not separate. And
bonded set do not separate.
What did I say?
You said a group.
Oh, okay, yeah, bonded set.
I wrote the question that way because you always see that on like shelter ads. Like
yes.
These dogs are a bonded pair.
Absolutely. And then we also had another vote for Gentle. Just adding this in here, I do think that Gentle and Narcitoru had more interesting backstories than, say, like, the minor trio, for example. And, like, Gura and Leva, we already talked about this. I liked them, but I liked them more as, like, comedy than actually, like, threatening villains or anything like that. So I'd agree. I think Narcitoru fought that battle hard, and I think he won.
Absolutely.
And now we have who is going mad goblin mode, absolutely feral, just a little criminal. We had two people who each cast a vote for their individual people, but then two people teamed up and they both voted for Ran.
Strong runners up, Noise-sama, Him Creature, and Ellen.
Yes, absolutely.
It's amazing that Gentle got no votes, even though she was the only actual literal criminal.
Well, yeah, but like, she doesn't have any of the goblin energy, you know? Like, honestly, Narcisteru had more goblin energy, in my opinion.
Oh, no, he absolutely did.
But, yes, I absolutely love that Ran. I love, too, that we have two characters on here who are good guys, and then we have two that are villains, that are little goblin creatures. I would also say that maybe we should have put, like, Iro. He's not that much of a goblin. I think it's the fact that he's a kid is what's kind of making him stick out in my mind.
There was a write-in option. Nobody wrote him in.
Well, no, I know. I'm just saying. Yes, absolutely.
Now, this was my favorite question. I haven't been reading these questions word for word because that would be boring for you to listen to, listeners. But I really like the way I phrased this one, so I'm going to read it. DILFs and GILFs reign supreme in this season of Cure of the What Now, but who daddied? Like none have ever daddied before. And again, we're going to have to do some discussion because this was a four-way tie between Mephisto, Ginger, Belle, and Otakichi. Cinnamon got no votes, which is weird because I know for a fact Ayu thought he was hot.
Maybe he's not as daddy, though, you know? Maybe he's a charming young lad, and some people are into the more mature Belle-sama. Maybe there's a sensuous way that he licked that lollipop.
Oh, gosh. All right, Joel. All right. So does Belle have your vote of those four men? Do we need to operationally define daddy?
So here's the thing. We're talking about DILFs and GILFs. So, like, I like Ginger, and I kind of put him on there because I think that he could be appealing to some people, but I don't think that he really has the energy, you know?
No, I don't look at that man and go, that's a silver fox.
Same with Otokichi. So I would say, in my personal opinion, I think that it should be either Belle or Mephisto. And you can't, like, Mephisto has strong wife guy energy when he becomes good, but don't forget, he was kind of delicious as a villain.
He was, yeah, absolutely.
I think, though, as co-producer of this podcast, I think we're morally obligated to give it to Belle just because we harped on how daddy he was the entire time he was on screen.
Absolutely. You know,
None of these other men had a moment where they became so powerful that they ripped off their shirt and became giant, muscly Master Roshi men.
Yeah, no, give it to Belle. That's it. That's the end. End of the awards. No, we have another excellent award, Joel.
Yes, this one came to me in a dream because you so loved the Who is this Imperious Child when talking about Cure. But when I was reflecting on all 4 seasons that we watched, I realized we have another Imperious Child. We have another younger character who might be a bit of a bossy pants, might be able to give Aguri a run for her money. So who is the most Imperious Child? Cure Muse / Akko, or Aguri / Cure Ace? And we had a strong showing. Almost everyone believed that the title should go to Cure Ace.
I am so curious who voted for Cure Muse.
Yeah, I mean, like...
You know what's... So here's my thought about Cure Ace. She remained a f***ing cop the entire show. You know? When Mephisto finally had his big confrontation with Cure Muse, she lost a lot of her I'm better than you energy, and she got a little bit more unsure of herself. And that makes Cure Ace the most Imperious Child, because she never let go of that you suck, I'm better energy.
See, I think that throughout, yeah, I would say that that's part of it. And then I would also say that, like, Akko's, like, y'all are idiots, what had a certain flavor to it, and it's a different flavor than Aguri, which maybe I'm saying the same thing that you're saying in slightly different words, but Aguri had this sort of like, I expect better of you, and Akko almost had this like, I don't expect anything from anyone, like I'm perpetually disappointed, and I think that part of to me, an Imperious Child is one who like, is younger but still tells people what to do, and is just like, come on, you can do better than this.
Absolutely. With a unanimous 100% of the vote, the award for Best Wife Guy goes to Rikka, Cure Diamond, the wife gal.
Oh my goodness. Now, there were only 2 options here, and I don't think I enabled a write-in option. But yes, between Mephisto, who is an incredible wife guy, just absolutely amazing, and Rikka wins. And, you know, I think that's a win for women loving women vibes out there.
Absolutely. You remember the time, I think it was in the movie, where Mephisto's wife was like, I'm gonna kill myself so that the darkness doesn't spread.
Picks her up
and carries her away, like, I'm gonna let you do that. Oh, he's so good. I love you, Mephisto.
That was absolutely the movie. And whenever I think of Mephisto being wife guy, that's the image, is Aphrodite just like over his shoulder as he's running from whatever the bad guy was.
Absolutely.
We have another 4-way tie. Who is most baby? And me being a very literal man, I had to put, you know, not like who's the closest to a baby? Because that's just I is a baby.
Who is the cutest thing that you want to squeeze?
Yeah, and protect.
I can't even remember what I voted for on this one. I think I voted for Hummy.
So we had Hummy, we had Lulun from Max Heart, we had Kokone, and we had I. I love the fact that it's all 4 seasons. I guess that's by design. So what do you think is the single most important detail for a baby? Is it that you want to squish it, that you want to protect it, that it brings you joy, that it poops itself?
That you want to protect it. Okay. And I will say, Lulun was so forgettable, I had to Google her just now to find out who she was.
Oh, you forgot that she existed?
Yeah, I was like, who the heck is this character? And she's annoying. To be baby, you can't be annoying.
Okay.
So I vote Lulun is right out.
Okay, Lulun is right out. Kokone has an entire arc about wanting to grow up, and yes, she is baby because of that, but also she achieves it, so I would say that by the end of the season, I wouldn't necessarily say that she's the most baby.
Okay, so on one hand, that's fair. On the other hand, my boss is always telling me and my coworkers that like, there's like 20 years between us, but she's always like, you all look like children to me. You're my kids. So, like, she would describe me as absolutely baby.
Yes, but we're talking about in the internet slang.
To me, Kokone is baby. And I did, in fact, remember that I voted for Kokone and not Hummy because Hummy is self-sufficient. I don't need to protect Hummy. I have faith she can protect herself.
What are you talking about? Because Kome overcame her fear of the bitter taste of green pepper. Meanwhile, Hummy tried to hug a black cat who was possessed with evil. She got knocked over and she went, no!
Listen, she's stupid.
But she's not baby.
But she's not baby. She's trying her best. I'm going to say I is out.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I don't look at her and go like, oh, she baby. I feel like there's an element of intentionality to baby. You know, like, you can't be mad at me. I'm baby.
Okay, very interesting. Well, when you put it like that, I would still say that the vote should be, or the winner should be Hummy, but I am willing to give it to Kokone.
No,
She was adorable.
You swayed me.
Okay.
Hummy wins. Best baby, most baby. Honorary mention to Kokone.
Okay.
Now, the superlatives, we didn't have a great idea for how we were going to pick which one we were going to award, but we got multiple suggestions for each one. So I was hoping they'd be similar enough that we could kind of sum them up with one, but some of them are quite divergent.
Yeah, I mean, so I basically think right now we have a manageable number of responses. We didn't get 500 unique responses. We got, 3 or 4 from most of these. And so what I think I'm going to do is we're going to go through the list. I think we should just read them off, and we can make note of anyone that we specifically agree with or we think resonates really strongly, or any that are particularly wacky or funny.
Absolutely. So starting with Yui Cure Precious, she won the award for most likely to be a champion eater. She won the award for
biggest stomach.
And she won the award for most wholesome. She's just so wholesome.
I like oh my gosh, when we were talking about the movie, I forgot to say that Yui as a baby was the most adorable thing. And as I was live tweeting our reaction to the movie, AU pointed out, you could say that she's very precious. Now, I love that. But my point in shouting out how much I loved her is that we see the younger form of a lot of different PreCure characters, and a lot of times I do think that they are cute, but Yui specifically made me actually squee out loud. So I would almost put Yui as who is most baby, and then parentheses, but only in the movie. Or only
as a literal baby.
Absolutely. Now we're going to move on to Cure Spicy, and maybe what we should do is we should take the nominations that each person turned in, and then we could pick one that we really like.
Sure.
Okay. So Cure Spicy got Best Girlfriend. She was also nominated for
Most Memorable Poses.
And then this one, Most Likely to Think Bananas Cost $10. Now that one was so funny that when I saw whoever wrote it in, I sent it to you as a text message. I was like, oh my gosh, they made the reference. However, I'm going to say that I would not award her that superlative because the most likely to think of bananas cost $10 could be Aguri. It could be Alice. So I think that one's right out.
I'm going to say most memorable poses.
I'm going to say most memorable poses because she did give us the rectangle dance, the bow bow.
It was too powerful.
It reflects all negative thoughts.
To Ran, aka Cure Yum Yum. These superlatives were awarded. She is the wackiest.
She is the best at metaphors.
She is most likely to invent a time machine by accident. I think they're right. I think she is most likely to accidentally to a time machine.
Give me a Ran 3-episode solo series where she's just doing her YouTuber thing, her Twitch thing, and she's just like, what happens when I plug in this toaster into the refrigerator? And then she just falls in, and she's just in the year 3066.
Amazing. What about Ran into the multiverse, and it's like Spider-Verse, and there's just a bunch of different kinds of Rans.
Oh my gosh, and one of them is a crocodile Ran.
Oh my gosh.
So next we move on to the final Delicious Party Girl.
The finale,
Cure finale, and or Amane, aka number 1, most likely to be a cop.
She won most graceful.
And she was also most likely to be your angel and your devil. Now, I'm going to say, personally, I want to put most likely to be a cop. It's the funniest award. It's absolutely true. And the angel devil one, I love the meme. I love the reference. But it was really only like one episode that we really dealt with that.
She worked very hard to not be the devil.
Yes,
I don't want to take her victory away from her. So I agree. Amane for most likely to be a cop.
Excellent. Oh, I forgot. We did have one more Delicious Party person. Not a girl, but we did have one more character who was nominatable for different awards.
Nominatable. Nominee is a character from Homestuck? No. Shh. Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, I reference it all the time.
I kept wanting to say Heartcash.
She's formed from Sora's memories inside of Kairi's body, who has a connection to Roxas, and that's why. Oh no, that's Shion. I'm sorry.
Anyway, superlatives for Best Boy Takumi. Oh yeah, it's my turn. Takumi was voted for most likely to be a wife guy.
What? I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at Nagisa. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was nominated for Coolest Cape.
And he was nominated for, literally, the best boy. Was he better than Mari and Cinnamon and the other boys in this season?
Yes, because he had more of a character arc, but also, I take the word literally very seriously. So he did not win a little gold star that he had on his lapel or something.
I don't know. Here's my argument, though. Takumi never tried to stop Yui from fighting, right? He was never like, no, I will protect you, you back up. He just wanted to be with her. He wanted to fight alongside her, and he never pushed her to respond to his feelings.
Okay, yes, that one's very admirable. I would disagree, though, because what he wanted to do was he wanted to beat up the bad guy so she didn't have to fight, and he was worried for her safety. Worrying for your friend's safety is fine, but I'm just saying I don't know if I would necessarily characterize him as completely, like, just letting her do what she wants.
That's true. I guess what I meant by that was he never looked at her and said, don't fight,
Yes,
let me fight. And
absolutely.
I thought that was admirable.
It's admirable, but I just... Coolest cape? His cape can literally deflect energy blasts thrown at him.
I'm sold. Coolest cape it is.
Next, we move on to Nagisa, aka Cure Black, but specifically, it has to be how she was characterized in Season 2, because she's such a different character in Season 2 than she was in Season 1. She was nominated for Best Punches.
Biggest takoyaki fan.
And most likely to drive the takoyaki food truck.
I think that two of these being takoyaki themed is telling.
Yeah, I think that she wins something takoyaki related, and I even think that biggest fan, most likely to drive the truck, are honestly connected.
I don't know that Amane would let her drive the truck.
Well, no, but she's the most likely to try to drive the truck.
It's like, you've read Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. Don't let Nagisa drive the food truck because she'll eat all the food. So I'm going to say biggest takoyaki fan.
Absolutely. We move on. Oh, no, you get to do the next one.
I do. Honoka has been nominated for the awards Most Likely to Succeed, Most Likely to Explode an Experiment, and Most Willing to Deal with Their Girlfriend's Bullshit.
I'm going to say that she should win the third one. I get Most Likely to Succeed is nice because that's like an actual one that is in yearbook. So like I would give that one on a technicality, but I like Most Willing to Deal with Their Girlfriend's Bullshit, possibly phrased as Most Patient, or... if you want to go for maximum comedy, most patient up to a point. Like, most likely to snap and kill her girlfriend, honestly.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna say, the way this is phrased, most willing. I think Rikka is most willing.
Okay, she got bored by the darkness daddy for her girlfriend.
Oh boy. But, we've seen Honoka blow stuff up, so she's absolutely likely to cause a Star Labs style... problem.
Oh my gosh, my name is Amane, and one day I was struck by lightning. Okay, what superlative would our listeners give to Hikari, aka Shiny Luminous? Most divine or most boring nothing character?
I see we had big feelings about Hikari, listeners. Neither of those were me.
So most divine is technically true. I don't think it's the most interesting, so I'm gonna say most boring nothing character, and round of applause to whoever wrote that in. Thank you. You might have just been trying to suck up to us, but it worked.
Good job, James. We don't see who voted for these, I'm just guessing here.
Absolutely.
Hibiki, aka Cure Melody, has been nominated for Most Likely to Fight God, biggest jock, and most likely to eat Kanade's cakes.
Thank you for that reference. I absolutely love it. Which of these speak to you?
I mean, most likely to fight God.
Most likely to fight God is pretty good. And when I saw biggest jock, because I was reading these responses earlier as they were kind of coming in or whatever, I think that I agree that among her team, she's the biggest jock, but I think that if you compare her to, say, like, Nagisa, who do you honestly see downing an protein powder?
Nagisa, for sure.
Okay. So we will give her most likely to fight God. Now we can move on to her girlfriend, a.k.a. Kanade, a.k.a. Cure Rhythm.
A.k.a. Goddammit Kanade.
She was nominated for Best Cupcakes, Baker Supreme. I love that. Like
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she has a sentient apron instead of a cape.
Yes.
It can pick up whisks and stuff.
Most likely to keep Hummy as a house cat. I'm going to go with Baker Supreme as the one that I think that I would put in the yearbook next to her name.
All right. I like that. See, I don't think she'd keep Hummy as a pet. I feel like she'd keep Hummy as a prisoner. Like, I will touch these beans anytime I desire. Please, Kanade, let me out to go see Siren. No, the beans.
Amazing.
Ellen, Cure Beat Your Ass, was nominated for Most Likely to Be Arrested, Coolest Hair, and Most Likely to Break Out the Guitar and Play Wonderwall. I've got to give it to the Wonderwall meme.
Absolutely. I do want to point out Coolest Hair. She's the only character who can actually make her hair make a guitar strum sound. Specifically a rock guitar strum, right? So.
Absolutely.
We move on to Akko, a.k.a. Cure Moose. She is rudest child and short girl.
No love lost on Akko here, huh?
I think, see, here's the thing about rudest child. It is a diss, and maybe her people skills could use a little bit of work at the beginning of the series, but I also don't think that necessarily is her only defining trait. Like, you can be rude and kind at the same time. Maybe she just has foot in her mouth disease or whatever. But yeah, I think we should give her rudest child. What do you think?
Is she ruder? Yeah, I'm gonna say you're right. I think Aguri has manners. She just expects things of people. Yeah, she's like a drill sergeant or something like that. Mana, aka Cure Heart, was nominated for Best Friend, Most Likely to Go into Politics.
Problematic fave.
Why is she a problematic fave?
She failed the
Oh, she failed the trolley problem.
Failed the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I would say she's a problematic fave.
Okay, absolutely. Now this one, we got two people who put in the same answer somehow. So that's incredible. So either our jokes led people to the same conclusion, or it's just so obvious what Cure Rikka, aka Cure Diamond, is. She got 1 vote for best friend, and then we also got 2 votes for best wife. And let's be honest, best friend is just a way of saying best wife. So Rikka wins the award. It's how you get past best wife when your community is too conservative to allow 2 women to be married and one of them to be referred to as the other one's swallow. I cannot believe Rikka won 2 awards for being the best wife. She earned it, man. Best wife guy and best wife. Yes. Rikka, you're just an excellent spouse. Alice, aka Cure Rosetta, was awarded... Why would you say this about her? I actually think I might have written this one, but most likely to hunt people for sport. Yep. Absolute legend. And most likely to live in a cave with her butler and fight crime under the cover of darkness. Obviously that last one. I'm going to use my power as co-producer and just say she wins all 3. I can't pick between them. They're all great. I love everyone who voted on this question. Absolutely. You know, when I remembered, so I read most likely to hunt people for sport and I was a little offended. I was like, why would you say that? She's so sweet. And then I remembered I wrote it. And my reasoning at the time was she's rich and rich people kind of do whatever they want. So I could see her ending up on an island and her being like, oh, the natives here like to play a fun game where they run while we fire arrows at them. Now, this is completely unrelated to PreCure in any way. And it is also me just straight up ripping off content from a different podcast. But the Weekly Planet podcast, which covers movies and comic books and nerd stuff, in an interview, Craven the Hunter's actor, and I cannot remember who's playing him for the life of me, but he said that he thinks that Craven the Hunter is an interesting character because he cares so deeply about the planet and animals and stuff. And one of the two hosts, Mason, said, where did he get that, the tiger hide that is hanging from around his shoulders? How can you be both for protecting the planet and hunting animals for sport? And so that just reminded me of Alice a little bit.
Yeah.
The caricature version of her, not the actual version of her, but yes.
Absolutely.
We get to move on to Cure Sword, aka Makoto. Once again, I was looking at the wrong question.
I love that we've got Cure Moonlight as one purple and Cure Sword as another moonlight. Or another Cure.
As another color deep in the moonlight. Okay. We have Best Swordswoman and Gnarliest Backstory.
Gnarliest. I mean, other PreCure died on her watch, and her whole planet got taken over, so I'm going to say yes.
Yes. Of the seasons we watched, definitely one of the gnarliest. I would say, how would you rate her backstory compared to Moonlight?
Moonlight lost her dad and her fairy, which is it's a more personal loss, but Sword lost more.
And her entire nation and stuff like that.
So I think she wins.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we can move on to Cure Ace.
She only got one response. Wildest origin. Certainly was, yeah.
she got a strange origin. Technically, if we can count any character, I think I being the body of a dead princess that was reborn into an egg is a pretty wild origin, to be honest.
I mean, her origin is the same as Aguri's origin.
Okay, yeah, so Princess Anne just splitting herself into 3 pieces is the wildest origin story for 3 different characters.
Absolutely, yeah. She's just an absolute legend. One of the wackiest lads for real.
Now, I do want to make a note as one of the co-producers of this season. If you are a listener and you try to listen to every episode, or even if you only listen to the occasional episode, what I would love in a perfect world, if we had thousands of fans who listen to us, in rapture, waiting for our every word, I would love for, during season 3, anytime we have a particularly heartfelt moment, or a particularly goofy moment, or a particularly sad moment, those are 3 different categories, hit us up, via email or on Twitter or on Discord and say, this should go in the bin. And then at the end, when we're doing the award ceremony, I can tally every moment that someone said this should be nominated for cutest, saddest, or funniest moment, because we just left these as blanks. And I think that made it hard for people to remember a moment when they really thought the show was cute or really thought the show was sad, etc.
Absolutely.
The first one we covered was what was the cutest moment we covered this season? And we had Takumi bringing Yui a rice ball after the black pepper reveal. Very nice. And we had every scene with Hummy in it.
Nice submission, listener, but not a moment. So, Takumi bringing Yui the rice ball wins cutest moment.
I think he wins cutest moment as, on a technicality, we are going to try to avoid something like every scene with character in it, but also, Hummy is very cute.
Hummy's the cutest, yeah. Easily one of my top 10 mascots.
Now, you get the opposite side of that coin.
And the award for biggest heartbreak of the season goes to... There was only one response. Makoto's girlfriend turned into a baby rip.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for Makoto.
Yeah, so I would say the heartbreak was Makoto losing Princess Anne, literally being you go on ahead, I'll hold him off, and then there's a flash of light implying literal death. That is pretty heartbreaking. But when you phrase it as a joke, oh, she turned into a baby, it softens the blow a little bit. It's a little less sad now that we have the turn into an egg that hatched into a baby.
Absolutely. I think I didn't nominate this, obviously, but the scene where Yui sees Yone again and just is kind of watching her for a minute,
yeah,
that touched me. And it's not really a heartbreak in the same way as something sad happened, but it was a very emotionally powerful scene. And I'm glad PreCure is able to touch into some of those bigger topics.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not vote, but I think maybe the one that might come to mind is in a similar vein, Mana meeting her... No, you know what? They killed that dog twice. So I'm just going to say the Doki movie was the saddest moment for me personally.
They killed that dog twice. And other quotes by Joel. Joel, the award for best girl goes to...
All of them. It was a split. It was split between 4. I believe this was another one where we pre-wrote the answers. I don't think we had an other option, but we had 1 vote for Yui, 1 for Kokone, 1 for Ran, and 1 for Amane.
Incredible that they were exactly split. Joel, be the tiebreaker here. Who is the best girl and why?
See, okay, so I'm going to say Amane is out again because I personally don't resonate with her. I get that there's a lot to her story that people might enjoy. Yui is the best girl in the sense of, like, being supportive. Kokone is the best girl in terms of, like, having a relatable goal and, like, wanting to grow as a person. And Ran is best girl in the sense of, like, being funniest or whatever. I think I'm going to give it to Ran specifically because I would most want to hang out with her if, like, I had the chance to call up any PreCure character and ask them to, like, go to the mall with me. I think that it would be a really good day.
Agreed. And overwhelmingly, the award for Best Boy goes to Takumi. Now, we were very funny with the responses to this poll, so some of the potential options were Takumi, Black Pepper, Takumi with a little mustache, Fuji P, haha, just kidding, it's Takumi. Those were all ones that got votes.
There was also OK Daisuke, I guess, which I love because Daisuke was not in any of the 4 seasons that technically were up for awards in this season of Cure of the What Now. Cure of the What Now.
Yum.
But we also had that pretty much nameless boy from Mana's class who liked her in the movie.
And 50% of the votes did go to Takumi, but with a little mustache.
Yes, absolutely. All 4 votes were for Takumi, but specifically if he has a little tiny mustache that makes him a better boy.
I didn't see the haha, just kidding, it's Takumi option, and that's really funny. Did you put that in there, or did I?
I did, yeah.
Amazing. Joel, the award for cutest delicious Nope.
Delicious Polycule, keep PreCure. It goes to Secretoru and Kokone's mom.
Good for them. Good for them.
Love to see it.
Yes. Special shout out to Ginger and Yone and Yui and Takumi.
Absolutely.
This is a very, other than the winner, this is a very heteronormative poll.
Honestly, in Delicious Party, there weren't that many couples that felt, there weren't too many pairs of girls together. You have Amane and Kokone, and then you have Kokone's mom, and so I guess Delicious Party, you could say, arguably, what they're saying is that the gay gene is passed maternally through the mom. So if Kokone had a son and then a daughter, the daughter would be into women, and the boy, they're all into women, just all the time.
Being into women is genetic. And the award for cutest Max Heart couple, Polycule, goes to... Joel, are you surprised by these results?
Nagisa and Honoka, what?
Nagisa and Honoka, with a 25% of the vote going to Nagisa/Cake.
Yes, absolutely. That would basically be, you didn't get any romance vibes from the season. I wrote it in there to be funny. We also... spit on Fuji P again with a Nagisa/What's-His-Face. And then I tried to think of anyone that Honoka could potentially be paired up with, and I could come up with nothing. So I just wrote Albert Einstein's Ghost.
And nobody voted for it. They didn't think it was funny, I guess.
We got another overwhelming majority vote for cutest sweet couple and Polycule. Catherine, read off the list.
Hibiki Kanade, Humi Siren, Akko Sota, Kanade, that Prince character, how dare you, bass drum pronounced bass drum, bass drum pronounced bass drum, and falsetto baritone. And the winner is...
Hibiki and Kanade, of course it is.
With a special 25% of the vote going to Humi/Siren.
Absolutely.
Can we still call her Siren, or is she Ellen forever?
I think she's Ellen forever, but I don't... Like, she was originally Siren. Like, she wasn't, like, mind-controlled from Ellen into Siren. She was Siren, and then she became Ellen. So it's not like a... I don't think it's a dead name thing. Like, it's a trans issue. I just think, we referring to the cat form, or are we referring to the human form?
Amazingly, for our next award, cutest Doki Doki couple/Polycule, we have an even 50-50 split vote, and there were 4 responses.
Yeah, so this wasn't 4 people all voting in different ways. We had 2 people agree with one side of the fence, 2 people agree with the other side of the fence.
And the amazing thing is Rikka is in both of them, proving that Rikka is the best wife no matter who. So
and she's the most shippable, I think. I think that's how she wins that award.
It was a split between Mana Rikka and Rikka Ira, and to me, I'm just gonna say
Rikka has 2 hands.
Rikka has 2 hands, which means the actual winner of this poll is Rikka.
Just
Rikka's
Rikka.
Polycule is the cutest Doki Doki Polycule.
Now we are out of the relationship questions. We've finished with the superlatives. We are now moving on to general feelings overall about these various seasons.
Our final 3 awards.
We focus mostly on the main series, which would be Delicious Party for Season 2, the upcoming Hirogaru for Season 3, and then a little selfish question about our own podcast here at Cure of the What Now? Yum. How did you like Delicious Party? The options, I alluded to this earlier, but we have loved it, liked it a lot, rewatch, good, doesn't need a rewatch, I was underwhelmed, honestly, I hated it, and then I had an option for people who didn't watch it or didn't feel like casting a vote. And the winner was, liked it a lot, would rewatch again.
I was surprised that 25% of the vote went to I was underwhelmed.
I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily James, that one welder guy, but he has said that he's kind of fallen off on anime, and, we offered to be like, hey, do you want to watch together or whatever, and life got in the way. But if you're watching a show and you don't finish it, or you kind of aren't keeping up with it, I think that either speaks to a drastic change in life, or that it maybe wasn't quite good enough.
That's true. And I did see a lot of people on Twitter being like, when is something going to happen in this show?
Yeah, some of the biggest PreCure Twitter people that show up on my timeline, quite a few of them were kind of like, yeah, honestly, I had to kind of force myself to be enthusiastic about it. I like Delicious Party. It is not S tier for me, but I am sad that it's over.
Absolutely. You know what I think is going to be S tier?
What is that?
Hirogaru Sky PreCure. We asked how excited you are for this season, and overwhelmingly you are all caps screaming that you are excited for it.
Yes, give it to me. Whoop! Got 75% of the votes, and then the remaining 25% of the votes went to, yeah, I think it'll be great. So, overwhelmingly positive. One person who was fairly positive, and a lot more people who were very positive, very excited.
Angel cures or we riot. That's all I have to say. It's hero time, baby!
And we've already gotten a glimpse of their main character, and she seemed awesome. I want to be her friend as well.
Absolutely.
And now, the final question.
Do you like us?
And would you look at that? It's one of those trick questions, like you're in the 3rd grade again. You got a note in your locker. I don't think 3rd graders have notes in the locker, but you know what I mean. You have yes, definitely, absolutely. And
with
then
3 hearts?
With the 3 hearts through ASCII, yes. And then I am your creature. And whoever voted for that, the 25% of y'all, you know where our email is, because we can sign you into a contract to make you our creature.
You will belong to us legally. Benefits of being our creature involve sleeping under the table,
tiny scraps of bacon,
being fed Doritos while we podcast. Quietly, though, creature, we're recording.
Head pats.
A special space on the couch just for you.
Thank you so much to everyone who voted. It always feels good to know that we have a community that is trying to support us. I know that we're not necessarily the most consistent with our upload schedule. Maybe we're not the funniest. I'm kind of an idiot sometimes. I don't want to make any comments about Catherine, but if I said we're idiots, I think Catherine would get mad at me. We live under the same roof, but we have our flaws, but it still means a lot that people took the time to participate in the survey and the award ceremony, and we hope that you will join us for Season 3.
And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Enjoy the final food-themed outro for the season. Next season, new intro, new outro. Look forward to it, babies. But are they the most baby? Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Pirate Ghost Host. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at CotWN_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.